long story. I'll try to keep it short. I think I spent about 13 years in Deutsche. Of course, very interesting role. I was the Chief Operating Officer for the corporate banking division in India. But somewhere along the line, I think, there was some inner feeling that you want to do more. And the corporate career wasn't giving me that. And at that point in time, COVID hit. I had a lot of time to introspect. So there were a lot of moments, I think, when I look back, it kind of fits in the whole decision-making process. But I think at that point in time, I just didn't really want to kind of continue. So without any plan, I quit my job in February 2021. And I wanted to do something purposeful. I didn't know what it was. So I started with something which came to me first, which was the Social Leadership Fellowship Program by ILSS.
Oh, okay.
That gave me a perspective which I would have otherwise not known. To be honest, I wasn't very CSR, also actively involved in CSR. So that side of the world I didn't know. So it kind of opened my eyes that, there is another world out there, and it is it's doing such meaningful work. But I think during that period of time, I'd already kind of also found my space where I want to work in. That was environment and climate action. So after I finished my fellowship program and I started speaking to foundations and trusts, I realized that at that point in time, their focus was not climate action, which I found it very surprising. They said, no, this is not my critical area. This is more Western thing. It's not necessarily our, issue or thing we want to focus on. So I felt a little disappointed. So I started doing my Terra fellowship. And that is where I found, there is a community out there who's all very passionate about this. I also narrowed my space because I didn't want to get into finance. I wanted to do something which I could sense and feel. So circular economy was one of the topics I picked up. And that's how Kind Business happened. But over the period of last 3 years, I also realized, like many of us who are exploring or trying to get into a new career space, we all feel alone in the journey. And at that point in time, Terra became my go-to space. So when I was looking back around late 2023, 24, I realized that there were many like me, especially women, because I had kind of spoken to so many of them during my Kind Business, interviews and conversations, all wanted to move into the space. They didn't know, where do I start? How do I begin? What course do I do? I still see that conversations happening in our community. So why not start something which, for more selfish reasons, that, there is a place where I also kind of feel belong, right? So I started with a Google form last February. I didn't expect that kind of a response. Honestly, I didn't even want to was thinking of building an organization or venture around that. But the response was so overwhelming that we are now 700 odd members, 5 city chapters, and I have 2 of my members from Nadi here. So it's like a space where I think, you also feel that, okay, I'm part of like-minded community where I can share any questions I have in kind of moving to a new career or a sector, but also it helps me to provide that safe space. But one thing which I was very clear right from the beginning was it cannot be just a network. It has to be very action-oriented. So whatever we do has an action element to it. So there is something which is immersive. There's something what people can take away. There's some value addition to you as a person. So we focus on 3 areas, which is community building, capacity building, and career support. So we have partnered with organizations so they can help others. And also the community is very vibrant, so they keep sharing. And whatever we do as masterclasses and sessions, it's also something I can take back and apply in my own life. So that is what my journey has been. Yeah, I'll probably share a few, even some statistical, evidences there. Any profession, any career you're in, you always look up to visible leadership. Even if you're an actor, you want a Shah Rukh Khan or Amitabh Bachchan to kind of look up to, right? Anybody who gets into a sector will look up to it. Unfortunately, in climate, there are very few, especially women, because the pathways which I as a leader would take, I could kind of resonate with that person saying that, hey, if that person has made it, I would also be able to make it, right? So it's very important to establish visible leadership. And in climate, we don't have visible women leadership. In fact, there was a report by OECD which said less than 30% women leadership. And I think COP28 was the first time in Dubai they had a session which was women in climate. So we never really bothered about having women leadership in the climate space. But it was also very, for me, I found it also strange because the people I spoke to, be it entrepreneurs or organization, belonging to organization, they were all very senior people, okay? But they were never kind of came across as visible women leaders. So those were for me very interesting takeaways also to kind of ponder upon, saying that why, right? So from the very beginning when we started, in fact our mission is to have 100,000 women leaders, change makers by 2030. Because if you know, in tech, women in tech became an afterthought because suddenly they realized, oh, there's not too many women. And then said, okay, let's promote women in tech. That should not be in climate because we are actually still building the space. It is evolving as we kind of speak. Why not build it right from the beginning? I'll also share a very small incident, okay? When we did a Delhi chapter launch on March 8th, in fact, we launched Nadiya on Women's Day, International Women's Day. So it's last year and it's 1 year now. And actually the speakers in the room, all very accomplished people, very, somebody has even listed their company on London Stock Exchange, very accomplished leaders, okay? They asked the audiences, how many of you know us before you came to the event? Not many people could say yes. So how do you kind of create that, right? So that is the whole idea behind it, that create that platform, get more women leaders. In fact, there was one particular incident even within the community where there was a renewable energy summit or a session or whatever, not a single women speaker. And the community got really agitated. They said, how can this be? And from within the community, they put together 50 people who are leaders, and we said, and we are in fact going to publish it very soon, saying that looking for women speakers, here they are. You have to be actionable, otherwise you can't do it. The other thing is the OECD report, what it also led to was people asking you questions, why women? We didn't have a benchmark in India to say that what does women in climate careers look like? So we kind of partnered with another organization called Climate Hires, and it's completely community-led project where they took over to create this research saying that what does it look like? And there are some very interesting insights of how do women navigate this space. If you're within the community, when I say within the community, within part of a climate network, or you're someone in the climate network, how their path is different from those who are completely outside. They absolutely don't have a clue. The confidence level between them is also very, very, very vast, right? The difference is vast. So these kind of snippets and all those things we also kind of got to understand. So I will probably share something which happened very recently. I think this is something we don't really... So one of the things which we very consciously we are starting to build is it has to be very holistic. I can do a ESG session, I can do a life cycle assessment session, that's very technical. But if you want to bring holistic knowledge, you have to do a lot of things which is kind of engaging with the community, bringing some aspects which you otherwise don't think about, right? So the recent one which we did, which was in Bangalore last week or this Saturday, was mushroom and women's health. Many of them have this perspective, oh, mushroom, I can't eat, vegetarian, non-veg. There's so much of, confusion around this and misconception about that. That's one aspect. But there's also another aspect that mushroom is a very climate resilient crop, right? It can grow on agricultural waste and it doesn't need so much of resources for you to grow. Imagine probably, I don't know, in the very near future where it's going to really impact a lot of our food systems. This is going to be something we would all be relying on. So bringing that aspect of a resilient food and also talking about the nutrition element of that. But most importantly, there was also very interesting takeaways from the session saying that there are so many different types of mushroom. Some of them are, the knowledge of that, how to grow mushroom and all those things, very, very still tribal knowledge, okay? None of them is documented. So we've lost so much of information in this process. So for us, these kind of events where you bring in different intersections, so people, it's fun to know because people get to smell, see different types of things. They also understand how do I incorporate it in daily life. So we got a person who grows mushroom like Prithvi, a behavioral chef like Nayanthara, and also a dietitian like Kirti. So bringing these different elements is very important. So we do sessions on EV saying that, okay, EV is booming, but if I want to build my career in EV, what are the things I should look out for? Yeah. So I'm just giving you a few things, but yeah, some of the sessions which we did this year were around these, like some are technical, but some are also very holistic. Yeah, so we did this study, the research, and the technical knowledge, okay? So there has been consistently, in the interviews which came out, was the technical expertise of women are constantly being questioned. And it's, okay, right from, okay, I'm a solar engineer or I'm a renewable power expert, but I'm not given the platform to talk about it.
So okay. They exist, but they're not given the leg.
So like I told you about the person who was in the Delhi chapter, she listed a renewable energy company on London Stock Exchange. Do you know about her? Probably not, right? Exactly, we don't give them the platform. So a technical expert needs to be given that platform. Most of them, tokenism, I think, it doesn't work anymore. You have to give them people who are real change makers, decision makers, the platform, so that they also have a lot more to convey, right? So this is one of the study aspects which came out was constantly being questioned about your technical expertise. And time and again, if you have to do that, then it is not really fun. Yeah. Hope I answered your question. Yeah.